Hey guys, welcome back to Heart Breathings. I am so excited that you are here. If you are a new subscriber, thank you so much. And if you aren't yet subscribed to my channel, here we talk about productivity, being a writer, self-publishing, and all that good stuff. So I hope that you will hit that subscribe button and the notification bell to get notified as soon as a new video comes up from me. Today, we are going to be talking about my top 7 tips for staying focused while you're writing. Okay, before we get started, I just wanted to say 2 things. 1, thank you so much to all of the super amazing comments and concern over our quick evacuation for Hurricane Florence. As many of you know, I'm in Charleston, South Carolina, almost right on the beach on an island. And so we evacuated, but luckily nothing happened here in this area. The storm went north of us. So we got lucky here, and my thoughts go out to any of you who were affected by Hurricane Florence. Hopefully you guys are all safe and sound, but luckily everything was fine here, and we ended up evacuating to Florida, and it all worked out great. So that's why there hasn't been a video in a week, but I'm getting one up today. And number 2, I also wanted to remind you guys that today is the beginning of my very first course. The Finish Strong 3-day bootcamp launches tonight with a kickoff call and goes throughout the weekend. This comes with my custom designed planner for the next 90 days. I'm teaching you a little bit more about how to set up this Kanban productivity board behind me, and pretty much to set all of your goals and all of your tasks and projects for the final quarter of the year. And this is something you'll be able to use for the rest of your life. I would love to have you join us so that you can finish strong with your productivity and your writing this year. And it really applies to anyone who is a creative entrepreneur. So come join us. We've got editors and writers and just all kinds of different people in the course. So the link will be down below for you if you're interested in that. Otherwise, let's get down to my top 7 tips. So number 1 is to set a specific time on your schedule for writing. If you want to stay focused, then you have to get your mind in the right place to be writing. And if you don't set something on your schedule or on your calendar that says, this is the block of time that I'm going to be writing, chances are when you get home from work or you are sitting around on a Saturday morning or whatever it is you're doing, you might be thinking, you know what, I'd really like to write right now, but I think I'm gonna watch this show on Netflix or whatever. So that's one of the first struggles of actually sitting down to write. But in terms of staying focused while you're writing, I think it helps to know ahead of time that this is gonna be my writing time. It's like a mental preparation that says, when I sit down on Tuesday at 2 o'clock, that's my writing time. And so for the next 24 hours or whatever it is, I've already got this expectation that the writing time is coming, and my subconscious mind is already kind of working on the ideas, getting me ready to be writing. Or likewise, if I set a schedule for myself that I'm going to get up every morning and I'm going to write from 9 to 11 every single day, then that schedule and that intention being set ahead of time just kind of mentally prepares me to be writing during that time. And I've found this to be extremely helpful with my writing focus. Now, that doesn't mean that I won't sneak in some time when I have extra time that I hadn't planned, but I almost always find that when I've planned ahead of time, I've got so much more natural focus because my body and mind was ready for that writing time, if that makes sense. Number 2, put your phone on Do Not Disturb. Don't allow any distractions. Let your family know, your friends know, let everyone in your life that might come distract you know that this is your writing time and you are just completely unavailable. Even if you go out to Barnes & Noble, put some headphones in, don't make eye contact with people. This is not social time. This is the time to sit down and write. So just don't allow distractions. Put a note on your door if you have an office that says, I'm writing, don't knock. Give your family some kind of schedule. Set those boundaries for yourself, but do not allow distractions. And even when it comes to just your phone or your devices that you have, if you're writing, try to download a Chrome app or something that will allow you to turn off your social media or your notifications so that there's not something popping up every 5 minutes while you're writing that says, you've got a new email or someone just private messaged you on Facebook, because that's number 1 focus and productivity killer while you're writing is that little ding of your phone that's like, bing, oh, let me check and see what so-and-so said. And now you're suddenly in a conversation for 10 minutes on Facebook Messenger about your best friend's burrito that she just ate. That is not a good use of your writing time. So set yourself up for success ahead of time by just not allowing those distractions to come into your writing space and time. Number 3, use writing sprints. This is probably the number one thing that helped me stay focused while I'm writing. When I used to just say, okay, I'm going to sit down for this hour and I'm going to write, it was like an hour was just too long for my brain to stay focused. And so what would happen is I would maybe write for 10, 15, 20 minutes, and then I would start getting tired. My brain would start wandering. The words weren't coming as quickly. And I would find, like, for example, in an hour, I could maybe write 1,000 words, which is great, but it was not my top producing speed. Well, what ended up happening for us was my husband was playing this game. We met playing this game called EverQuest 2. And when I wasn't able to play that as much because I was writing so much, he started playing a game called Global Agenda. And that game was sort of more of a PvP, I think, style, or an arena style game. And he would queue up for a group event and then he would go in, and it would last, the tournament or whatever would last anywhere from like 8 minutes to 15 minutes. And so what we did was we decided to play a little kind of like a little challenge game with each other because our computers were right next to each other. And he would let me know when he was queuing up, and he would go into the game, and the minute he would go in, he would say, go. And I would go and I would write. And whenever he was finished with his tournament, he would say, okay, stop, time. And he would compare how many points he had gotten in the tournament to how many words I had written. Now, I know this is kind of silly and it doesn't work for everyone, but it was just kind of like a little fun thing. And what I started to notice, because I had never heard of writing sprints at this point, this was probably 10 years ago, what I started to notice was when I focused for that short, quick period of time, and I was focused on getting a lot of words down and really like immersing myself in the story at just the snap of a finger, I could write 500-600 words in 10 minutes. It was insane. Now, I'm not saying those were all the most quality words that I've ever written, but it started getting me thinking that if I could utilize these like short bursts, then maybe I could be more productive overall. And it has totally changed my life over the last 10 years. So what I like to do is I will set a number of sprints that I want to write. So I'll say I'm going to work for 2 hours, which means I have 4 blocks of 25 minutes with a 5-minute break in between. So I will write only for that 25 minutes, and then I'll set a timer on my phone. I have one of my favorite writer apps for Android is called Writeometer, and I love it because it's right on my desktop of my phone, and I can just click start, and it will start a writing sprint for 25 minutes. And then when it's done, it will ding, and I can enter how many words I got written before I start the next one. So I'll write for 25 minutes and stay completely focused, no distractions, no messages, no Facebook, nobody can talk to me. If anybody even tries to talk to me, it's like, nope, I'm writing. And I'm so focused for that 25 minutes, but something in the back of my mind knows this is temporary. I don't have to do this forever. These words don't have to be the best words I've ever written, but it allows me to focus so intensely that I can write more now in 25 minutes than I can write in an hour because I'm so focused. Then I get that 5-minute break. I can get up, I can grab a coffee, I can do whatever, and then I start right back again. Running my writing time through sprints has been probably my number one focus and productivity tool when it comes to learning how to actually get my writing done. So number 4 is to plan ahead. And what I'm talking about is your plot. So I just finished, if you haven't watched it yet, I will link it for you down below or put a card up here somewhere. It's an 8-part series on how to plot your novel. And I know that some people are pantsers and that's what helps them. And if that is your thing, then you go do your thing, because I know that what works for one person doesn't work for everyone. But if you are a planner, or you find that you think you're a pantser, and when you sit down, your mind wanders everywhere and you just cannot seem to focus on your story, try plotting out your novel. Because one of the number one things that helps me focus while writing is that I have a set of note cards, and they're pretty much always here by my desk. And what I will do when I'm plotting is I will put down the exact scene that I want to write on each one of these note cards in order. If you watch my plotting videos, you will see kind of how I plot out scenes and everything. So I'll have a scene written on a note card. Then when I sit down to do my 25-minute sprints or whatever was my scheduled writing time, all I have to do is pick up the top note card and I'm ready to go. I know exactly what I'm going to write. One of the things that kills productivity and focus while you're trying to write is that you don't really know what's coming next, and you feel like you're wasting time, or your brain is just kind of wandering around all these different plot ideas. If you take the time to plot and plan your story ahead of time, then when you sit down to write, you're going to naturally be more focused because you know exactly what you're trying to get done in this writing session. Tip number 5 is don't break the chain. So what I mean by this is there's a Jerry Seinfeld quote. I'm going to totally butcher this, but he said at one point, somebody said, how do you write so many jokes? How do you stay so fresh with your content? And he said, I write a joke every single day and I don't break the chain. And basically what he means is you write your words on day 1 and day 2 and day 3, and you just see how many days in a row you can keep that chain going. And I have found that this helps with my focus, because if I say take 5 days off of writing, then on that 6th day, when I come back to my story, I have to reacquaint myself with where I was in the story, with what I was writing about, with that inspiration for that scene or whatever. And it always takes me time to get back into the groove of it. And sometimes it can take me a few days to get back into the flow. Well, then if I interrupt that flow by yet again taking 3 or 4 days off, then I'm constantly, it's kind of like restarting an engine every single time you sit down to write. So one of the ways that I have helped my focus and productivity while writing is that I don't break the chain. I try to run these challenges. I have a writing sprint group that I run on Facebook that we do this all the time. And we try to set a monthly Don't Break the Chain challenge. And not only do we set a goal for writing at least 500 words a day every single day of the month, but we also set rewards for ourselves and say, if I make it through every single day of this month, then I'm going to reward myself with, and you tell yourself something that you want to do, a trip to Starbucks, a trip out to do something for dinner, or new pens and washi tape. Just saying that might be something that I tend to reward myself with a lot. If you write every day and try not to break that chain, or keep the chain going as long as possible, especially when you're first drafting your story, you will find that your focus tends to build up because you stay immersed in that story, you stay interested, and when you sit down to pick up your story where you left off, you just left off yesterday. So your mind is more fresh and it helps you stay more focused while you're working on it. Tip number 6 is to set up a writing ritual. And this is something that Steven Pressfield talks about in his book, The War of Art. Not the art of war, but the war of art. He talks about resistance, and sometimes we don't want to sit down, and what can help you start to write. And what he talks about towards the beginning of that book is that one of the ways he conquers like that resistance of sitting down to actually get his work done is he does a routine, like a ritual, where he'll touch his hat and turn it to the side and, sharpen his pencil or do whatever. And I started implementing this in small ways early in my career, and this has really helped me. And this goes back to the same thing as like setting that schedule for yourself. It's a ritual that you do right before you start writing. So you may ask, like, how is that going to help me stay focused while I'm writing? But the truth is, it gets you ready to write. It gets your mind in that mental space to calm down. It may take you a few times, like maybe a couple of weeks of doing this before it starts to actually like affect your brain. But I can't remember who said this, but it could have been a Stephen King quote, or maybe Nora Roberts, which I know it's crazy to get the two mixed up, but I heard this somewhere. So if anybody knows the reference, comment down below. But they basically said, you sit down every single day to write, and it's like inviting the muse to come in. And at first she may not show up, but once she knows that you come knocking at her door, or that you come calling for her every day at 8 a.m., she's going to eventually start to show up. And I love that quote because it's so true that, even if you struggle to get into the right mindset to be writing and to get focused when you need to get focused, if you set these cues, these mental cues, like setting a schedule and starting a routine for yourself, just these little things that you do right before you write, you'll start to notice that it's a mental cue for your brain to sort of calm down, focus on the story, shut out all those distractions and say, okay, here I am. This is writing time. And once you really get into that mental place, you're going to find that it is so much easier to focus for a longer period of time on your writing because your brain is trained to know this is writing time. One of the things that I do is I have like little trinkets of Hello Kitty with me. Now, this is one that's heavier, so it stays on my desk, but I always will touch her, before I start writing. And if I'm out writing, like Barnes & Noble or whatever, some of you might have seen pictures on my Instagram or in my YouTube vlogs and stuff like that for my writing channel, that I will have like little trinkets with me. Sometimes they're Hello Kitties, sometimes they're Tokidokis or like little pigs like this, but they're just usually little plastic things, and I will set them up in a row in front of my computer. And they're easy to carry with me in my bag, and it's just a little mental thing of like, I'm gonna set up these cute little things that I love, that make me happy, that make me smile, but it's also a little tip to my brain saying, guess what? It's writing time. I'm going to give you a little bit of warning by setting these things up and let you know. And now we're going to start. I've also heard of people starting like essential oil diffuser. I usually have a candle here beside my desk that I like to light, and a certain scent. I will try to have a certain scent for each book. So right now I've been writing with strawberry scent, but any kind of little writing ritual that you can do to get ready will signal to your brain it's time to start, and that will help you to show up better and to stay focused while you're working. And finally, tip number 7 is to set realistic goals. Now, it is so difficult, I find, to sit down and think some huge goal, like I'm going to write 5,000 words in an hour. And I know there are some people that can do that, but I have never been able to write 5,000 words in an hour. And if I set that huge of a goal for myself, let's say my average is 1,000 words an hour. If I suddenly am like every day, instead of trying to stick to that realistic average, I'm going to try to blow it out of the water every day. I need to write 5,000 words. I am almost always going to, somewhere in the back of my head, know that it's impossible, and so I'm going to sabotage it. It's just a mental thing, and I think that's true for a lot of us. So I sit down, determined I'm going to write 5,000 words, and I'm so stuck on that unrealistic goal and the pressure that I've put on myself to write so many words and make them the best I've ever written and all that stuff, that I just completely shut down, and my brain is like hamster on a wheel. Like I can't come up with what I'm supposed to write. I'm distractible. There's something out the window. There's this going on. There's this going on. Because I already know deep down, I'm not going to hit that goal. Well, who do I think I am thinking I'm going to write that ridiculous amount of words, right? So what I love to do instead is to set very realistic goals, even if it's just 500 words. And sometimes when I'm particularly tired and don't feel like focusing, I will set ridiculously low amounts of words. I'll say, I'm going to write 50 words. I'm going to write one sentence, okay? I'm going to set my timer for 25 minutes and I'm going to write one sentence. And that's all I have to do. But something about taking the pressure off by setting an extremely easy goal and a realistic goal allows me to just open up my creativity. I think when we put those stressful expectations on our creativity, it can sometimes shut us down. And so we naturally don't want to be focused on the writing because it's scary to us. As a little trick for yourself, set a super realistic, ridiculously easy goal, set a timer, get your ritual in place, and start writing and see what happens. If I set that 100-word goal or whatever, almost always by the end of that 25 minutes, I'm going to have at least 500 words, if not more, sometimes even 1,000 and less in 25 minutes, because my brain is not so focused on like, I've got to do the impossible. It's free to just say, I can totally do this. It's like this little pep talk, like, oh, this is going to be easy. I can totally do it. And it sort of frees you up to be more creative. All right, guys, so those are my top 7 tips for how to stay focused while writing. I hope that some of these have resonated with you. And if they have, comment down below and let me know which one of these you're going to try or implement, or let me know what you've struggled with in the past. I sincerely hope that you have enjoyed this video. If you have, please subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so that you'll be notified whenever a new video comes up from me. I try to get new videos out on Thursdays and sometimes also on Sundays. So I will see you in my next video. Oh, and don't forget, if you want in, come join my 3-day boot camp. It starts tonight. See you there. Bye.